that in FY 2011 they collected $363 million in income tax revenues, and what's supposed to be set aside into the trust fund was $93 million or so, but what was actually paid was $50 million.
The latest audit from the Office of Public Accountability shows that the government hasn't been following the law. Auditor in charge Llewellyn Terlahi says last year $93 million was supposed to be set aside for the sole purpose of paying past due tax refunds, but $41 million was instead used toward government payroll and other general fund obligations. Terlahi says it's all money that should have been deposited in the Income Tax Refund Efficient Payment Trust Fund.
Whatever's being set aside should be sitting in a bank account so that when tax filings happen April 15, they could process it right away.
Our goal is when a taxpayer files their return, in 2 weeks or a month they get their refund. That's the goal of this administration.
So it's safe to say if this Series B bond goes through, we will no longer be seeing this same type of audit ever happen?
Yes, yes.
If the government continues to operate in deficit spending mode, meaning to say, one, they're overestimating revenues more than what is actually coming in, and then to top it off, they continue to overspend. The biggest concern here is that we're never really going to pay off the tax liability in its entirety.
Audit Supervisor Rodolyn Marquez pegged the government's deficit last fiscal year at $365 million. $278 million of that was a tax refund liability. Despite the payment of refunds earlier this month, she warns that if funds aren't identified soon, the liability will be $127 million by the end of the year.
Until the government in general is in a position where, like Llewellyn said, pay off all past liabilities and then become current and then set aside monies for future, we're always going to be in a situation where we're always going to have to dip into the trust fund or any other fund of the government.
DOA Director Bonita Manglonia, meanwhile, says the issue should be resolved with these Series B bonds, but stressed that Gov Guam wouldn't be in this situation had lawmakers simply approved their first bond proposal to pay off all past due tax refunds in the first place.
Well, we've been singing the same song with OPA since the beginning of this administration, and that was the reason why the governor had to rescind the hay increase.
Ultimately, the public auditor recommended that Gov Guam stop making incorrect revenue projections. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Nick Delgado.